Hello students, welcome to a lesson on two-way table. We're going to learn how to use a two-way table and also interpret a two-way table, and we also going to learn how to create a two-way table. All right, so let's get started. Here's a problem. Is there an association between voters, political party, and whether the voters supported a ballot proposition or not? Proposition is sort of like a new law or rule that they want to create. Okay, here's the following data. So this is sort of already like a two-way table. Now the most important part of two-way table is finding the total amount. Okay, so that's what you want to do. Like for example, if 234 supported for the Republican, if 234 supported the proposition and 162 did not support, and then 54 undecided, you need to write down the total amount. Okay, so add these three up and you should get 450. All right, so same thing for Democrat, add these three up, you should get 550. All right, so you also want to write down the total amount of people that were surveyed. So 450 plus 550 is 1,000. That's actually probably the most important number. Okay, how many people supported? So this is a different type of total, and this one here only represents Republican. There's 450 of them, but how many people, let's just say they did the survey, how many people actually supported the proposition? So you have to add those two also, 520. And then how many people did not support? So 360, add those two, and 54 plus 66 gives you 120. All right, so these numbers represent total amount of something. So 520 represent the total amount of people who supported, 360 is did not support, and 120 is undecided. So this whole represent the amount of Republican and the amount of Democrat, and they all should add up to 1,000. Okay, so again, this is two-way table. Now, for today's lesson and assignment, they also want you to find the percentage of these. Okay, so once you find the percentage, then you can come to a conclusion. All right, so that's what we're going to do right now. But let's just go ahead and find a percent. Okay, so I already kind of created a table for you. You need to do that on your own. All right, so the percentage of, you want to compare, you always want to compare the percentage of how many Republican and Democrat. Okay, that's super important. So for example, 234 divided by 450. All right, use your calculator. Right, so 234 divided by 450, you should get 52%. And then do the same thing for Democrats. So if there's 286 who supported that, divide by 550 now, because there's a total of 550 of them. You divide that, you also get 52%. And then do the same thing for this one. You divide by 450, you should get 36%. And then the undecided for the Republican, 12% of the Republican that did a survey were undecided. All right, again, this should add up to 100%, obviously, because 52, 36, and 12, okay? This should add up to 100%. All right, again, you divide, and this one here, you should get also 36% and 12%. So what does that mean? Is there some sort of relationship between, like, you know, the people who supported the proposition? Is it going to be mostly Democrat or mostly Republican? Look at the correlation. So for C, okay, you actually have to write down the relationship, and just by looking at this data here, and that's why the percentage part is so important. Just by looking at it, you realize that, you know what, there is no correlation. It looks like both of them together, Republican and Democrat, to kind of support the proposition compared to the people who do not support. So again, not only Republican that wants to support, not only Democrat, looks like it's a collective amount of people who wanted to support this proposition. Again, there's no correlation between those two. All right. All right, let's go ahead and move on to another problem. Here, let me go ahead and use this table real fast. All right, so for number 2, okay, for this one, you actually have to come up with your own two-way table. Let's read the problem first, okay? So for number 2, a survey of 155 recent high school graduates. So this is the most important number. So the amount of people that you survey, okay, you need that, all right? All right, found that, so 155 surveyed, found 130 had driver license and 58 did not. 58 had jobs. So again, 130 had driver license and 58 had jobs. All right, so 21 said they neither 21 of them did not have a driver license or a job. All right, so that's a combined. That's a total of something, okay? Is there an association between having a driver license and a job among recent graduates? All right, so again, you want to do this just by looking at this data. You don't know what's going on. You have to complete the data to really understand what's going on, okay? So it doesn't seem like anything right now, all right? That's why you have to make a two-way table, okay? So a two-way table, there's two things that they compared. People would have license and no license, and job and no job, okay? So again, there's two as a combined 2 and 2. All right, so you have to be able to find something like that, okay? So for this one, let's take a look here. You want to put the total amount for both of them right over here. So 155 is the most important number. Okay, right there, okay? Now we do know that a survey, okay, a 155 recent survey student found that 130 had driver license. So that's the total amount of driver license. Which one had no jobs and which one has a job? We don't know yet, okay? So 130 total had driver license. So this is 130. All right. 58 had jobs, okay? So 58 had jobs. So for jobs, there are 58 of them, 58. Okay, so how many people have no jobs? I'm sorry, people would have license and no license. 58 of them have jobs. All right, any questions so far? You have to email me and stuff like that, and I'll help you out later, okay? But anyway, so the 21, where does the 21 go? So the 21 is also total right here. 21 said they neither had a license or a job, okay? So 21 total, okay? Had no license and no job, all right? So this is 21 right here. 21 had no license and no job, all right? This one over here should represent the total amount of students, high school graduate that have a job, and for no license, how many students have no license for this one? Okay, combined no license. All right. So let's go ahead and fill in the rest of the data. Okay, if I know there's 155 who had survey and 130 of them have license, then I know if I subtract these two, then there are 25 of them with no license. Again, if 130 has license, and then there's a total 155, that means 25 of them has no license. All right, now let's take a look at this part right here. Oh, okay, so if 20 of them have no job, okay, with no license, that means there should be 4 of them, because 4 plus 21 is 25. That means 4 of them has no license and do have a job. 21 of them have no license and no job. 4 of them, just by looking at this table, I know I just fill this in right there. So I mean 4 of them should have no license and they do have a job, all right? And then look at this one over here. Look at that. So I know the total amount of students that have jobs, okay, is 58 of them. Okay, so I know this one has to be 54 because 54 plus 4 is 58. Okay, so therefore what I know now is that 54 of them do have a license and do have a job. All right, so now let's go ahead and subtract 54 from 130. 54, so 130, subtract that from 54. That gives me 76, okay? So there you go. So 76 of them have no job, but do have a license. 54 of them do have a job and do have a license. 4 of them do have a job and no license, and 21 of them have no job and no license. And that's my data. Let's go ahead and add this one right here. This one here is 97. All right, that gives you the total amount of students with no job. 54 with 58 do have a job, 97 do not have a job, and this should add up to 55. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Quickly, we want to find a percent. I'm going to just go quickly, okay? So this one here you want to divide, 54 divided by 58. Okay, that gives you 93%. 4 divided by 58, that gives you 7%. This should add up to 100. All right, 76 divided by 97, that would give me 78%. 21 divided by 97, that gives me 22%. This should add up to 100%. So what is my conclusion? Looks to me, okay, by looking at this data right over here, all right, I would definitely, the key, okay, is that students that do have a license and do have a job, it's definitely a lot higher. Okay, as you can see right there. First of all, 93% of the students do have license. All right, but students that do have a license and that also has a job. Okay, so let's take a look here. Do have a license, do have a job is far exceeding for students that do not have a license and do not have a job, which is over here 7%. All right, and basically, if you don't have a license and there's no job, it's at 22%. All right, so just by looking at this data, I would say you definitely need a license if you want to get a job. All right, so that's my conclusion. And that's it. If you have any questions, again, email me. And again, for your C, when they ask you to interpret, make sure you write down in words. Thank you, and have a good day.